Are you interested in data cleansing? Well, stay tuned and I will show you what all of this stuff is. Hello to all my wonderful students. I am slowly getting back into YouTube, slowly filming and recording and designing courses yet again. And I'm so excited to I actually already started filming this. So let me give you the high level view because I know a lot of people have been messaging me about this. On my course, whether it's going to be on my Jellyman education platform or on Udemy, where a lot of people have found me, there is the Tableau desktop part of things, which is the visualizations. But then there's the Tableau prep, which is the data analysis. And that one is it's actually much shorter compared to the Tableau desktop, which is the visualization part. So I've been working for a while now to upgrade the Tableau prep. So what these are, okay, and you won't be able to read the text, it's too small. This is the outline for the Tableau prep course, which focuses a lot on data analysis and how data analysis works in the real world. Data preparation, data cleansing, all those practices. In the original Tableau prep I did, it was basically, here's how you do a clean step, here's how you do a formula, and that's kind of all it was. It was highly idealized. So what I'm going to do in this video is go through the things that are in the new course that you guys can check out. So I haven't got these in any particular order, but I'm going to walk you guys through. So one of the chapters, which is this one, is on data analysis itself. So I can't remember if I even had that on the previous one. And this is going to go through the actual practice of how you do data analysis. So it's not a matter of just, let me just clean it however you like in whatever steps. But it factors in a lot of how to do testing throughout your flows and throughout your builds. It goes through agile development, how to build iterations. It goes through project management topics on how to actually communicate your builds, how to go back and forth with your clients, how to explain them, how to design it in such a way to make room for when your clients go, well, I'm not sure about this part. So it's a lot of that. We're going to go into let me see here. We're going to go into concepts of waste. So if you don't know what that means, it's sort of like it's a assembly line, I guess, term, which goes through, well, should you bring all the data in? Should you only bring in a few fields? How do we make it so it's really, really efficient? It's the equivalent of if you're going to cook egg in the morning, you take all the ingredients out of your pantry, all of them, and then you cook one egg. It's like, well, no, just get the egg, right? So it's learning how to manage your data before you even get up to the Tableau part, right? The Tableau desktop part. Then we're going to go into IDP solutions. So if you've never heard of that, it's basically learning in the corporate world how to build a solution that can be leveraged multiple times. So it's a highly generalized solution. So that's just the start of it. Then we get to, again, in no order. Then we get into aggregates. So aggregates in themselves, sum, max, min, those are relatively basic. But learning how to piece them together in different ways and then doing it in the form of an analysis rather than here's sum function, here's total function, here's max function, right? But how would you use that in a real situation? How do you apply those when there's errors in your data that you have to clean up? How do you make changes back and forth? How do you get reasonable results? How does this factor into dealing with large data sets? So in the real world, well, maybe up until this point, you've only dealt with a few hundred rows of data. But what do you do when you have 100 million? What do you do when you have 200 million? Now, we're not going to do that in the course because that'll blow up Tableau, but these are principles we're going to learn. This is not covered in the original course. These are like lots of new things. Next, we come into pivot structures. So this is being able to convert back and forth. Now, whether you start with a data set that's got columns in them, like a pivot structure, and then you're trying to unpack that in various ways, or you're going the other way, which is you have a table set structure of data and we're trying to pivot that in different ways. So learning how to piece that together and then doing subsequent steps as well for further processing, that happens a lot in the real world. I'm going to skip this one. It's a little bit of a secret. Not a secret, but I'll get to that in a second. And we're going to put that one there as well. Next one is unions and joins. And we're going to do a lot of work on unions and joins. And level of detail, those kinds of things as well. Unions and joins is all about bringing data together from different places. And you're going to experience this a lot as a professional analyst, where you may have 2023 data, 2022 data, you're going to bring them together. Or you could be working, in the corporate system, right? You could be pulling from multiple departments, multiple divisions, multiple groups, different people, and you need to be able to bring those together, consolidate them. What do you do if there's errors or they don't match or the structure is different? How do we deal with that kind of stuff? So a lot of that's going to be in there. Then, and this is one of my favorites. So we're going to get into quality, best practices, and raw data preparation. And really, it should be raw data preparation first. And this is all about, well, when you get data for the first time in the real world, again, all of this is from the perspective of you're going to be a data analyst or data engineer, scientist, visualizer, whatever you want to call it. How does it actually unfold in the real world? So you meet a client for the first time or a stakeholder and say, we have this information, here you go. How do you run through that as an actual project? So you don't just start analyzing. You have to know how to take notes, how to set up your requirements. Then you have to look at the raw data. You have to learn how to assess it. Then as you're building it through, how do you assess for quality? How do you ensure that you didn't accidentally delete data or the data at the end is coming out and it's reasonable? How do you deal with all those things? How do you build quality gates? How do you preserve the figures as you go through? How do you do various types of testing? And we even go into, and I know I wrote it here today, how do you build error reports? So this is a big one, in that when you have a flow and you're doing very, very complex processing, that you have these gates, I like to call them quality gates, that checks for certain things, and then that gets outputted, consolidated in a dashboard, and that comes up with errors as a daily report saying, listen, this many rows failed, or this results are coming out in a weird way. How do you design that? How do you deal with that? Right? So that's a really big one. Next one is connection, file management, outputs, and flow management. So this is probably kind of earlier on in the course structure. This is all about how you bring your data in, how do you set that up to go into your flow. So that means, dealing with CSVs, looking at different connectors, looking at different ways to union, wildcard unions. We're looking at how to change your connections to new sources. What do you do if the structure is the same, if it's not the same, if it's got different names, if it's got missing fields, right? We're going to go into the interface. We're going to look at a lot of that stuff. And then we're also going to look at how to pair Tableau Prep with Tableau Online. That means you build a flow that does all your data cleansing, but you don't want that to exist just on your PC. So we want to be able to publish that online so it kind of runs itself. So when new data comes in, it resets, and then your visualizations, which are connected to your flows, which are connected to the published, and on it goes, right? So it's really, really crazy stuff. And all of this is really designed to make your life easier, because in the real world, you don't want to be cleaning the same data over and over and over again every single day. We want to build a flow. We want it to be automated. It runs, new data comes in, publishes the source updates the dashboard, and you're not even involved. You can move on to the next thing. So that's a new one. This one I'm still designing, which is the new rows function. We're going to get into this one, which is flow debugging. This is probably the thing you're going to be doing a lot of, not just in Tableau, but as a data analyst, which is you build a solution and the data doesn't come out right. You need to figure out where is that problem. Now, there's an art to this, which is if you have, let's say you have lines of code, SQL programming or whatever, Python, whatever, and you have 10,000 lines of code, how do you find where it went wrong? Do you check line by line? Do you cut the page in half? You tell your friend, you start from the top, I'll start from the bottom, right? So how do you do that? That all comes into how do you design your actual flow? How do you segregate and split up the different functions so that if something fails, you know which one is responsible for that potential error? It's even looking at the error and going, well, what are the ways that error can potentially generate, and only focusing on that. So that's a lot of debugging, and I actually will even mention you'll have visible errors, so things where Tableau Prep itself will come out and say, hey, you've got an error here, you need to fix it. Or you're going to have ones where it's invisible errors where the flow will work because mathematically it's sound, but when you say what's the average age of the people in my data set, and it says 587 years old, you're like, something's wrong here. How do you find those errors? So those are the things we're going to be investigating. Now, the one I put here to the side, this is going to be just a super short video, which is already at 10 minutes, but is the clean step. So clean step is the one you're probably going to use the most of, and this is where a lot of the data preparation happens. So you can do everything from managing your data types, choosing your fields. We're going to look at the change log. We're going to be splitting values, duplicate values, renaming values. We're going to do text cleaning. We're going to do a whole, but I had to do a whole page just on calculated fields. We're going to do all types of grouping, advanced splitting, filtering, how to detect duplicates, how to merge fields like concatenation, all types of management for dates, converting data types using mathematical functions, rounding, logic functions, if functions, dealing with nulls, fuzzy matching, clustering, the list goes on. So that is the general outline of the course. And even though it looks a little bit messy, it's actually already structured between beginner, intermediate, and expert. And then each one's kind of got an order to them. But I wanted to give you guys a outline for the course. So if you guys want to go check that out, sign up to the course. I haven't fully decided if it's going to be part of the Tableau desktop course I have on Udemy, or I have to build a separate one, simply because it's already quite large. And if I add this to the Tableau desktop course, that course is going to be like 60 to 80 hours long. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. What's the best way? The pros and cons are, if it's in the Tableau desktop course that I have on Udemy, those who already have the course, you get instant access, and that's fine. But the course gets absolutely massive. It's going to be kind of hard to find everything. Whereas if it's a separate course, then it is highly specific to data cleansing, which means I can expand it to more areas than just Tableau prep, which means, who knows, SQL could be included in there. It could be other practices around data cleansing. It could be more in stakeholder management. We could add things on project management. We could add even other languages. We could start including Python, and I don't know. The list goes on. So I'd love to hear what people think of which direction to go, but I have already started filming this, so I'm actually about to film the next set of videos, and I will leave it at that. So thank you guys for tuning in yet again. It's nice to start publishing on YouTube again, and look forward to hearing your comments. Bye!